Hi everyone, Heat Magazine here with Rhyme Signatures, the nerdiest music review this side of going all the way to London to be acquired in a reference that only British people will understand. And today we're going to be doing a review of the new Avantasia album, give me a second here, A Paranormal Evening with the Moonflower Society. Okay, so my relationship with power metal is not particularly strong one, I'll be the first to admit as much. I generally have a low tolerance level for cheese. And I do sometimes find that the likes of Rhapsody of Fire, Dragon Force and Stratovarius, amongst others, to be a little bit overwhelming for my delicate tastes. And I can only really stomach a couple of songs before I need something a little less much. On the flip side, though, there are some bands within the genre that gel with me in ways that really shouldn't, given my personal tolerances and whatnot. But bands like Nightwish, Unleash the Archers, and Edguy all kind of fall into this category, but none more so than the frontman of the aforementioned Edguy's little side project Avantasia. Tobias Sammet is nothing short of the hammiest ham in all of Hamburg. The man embraces cheese to the point where if he were a movie monster, I would call him Gorgonzilla. If he was a mid-2000s socialite, he would be Paris Stilton, and... yeah, okay, let's not keep doing this. You kind of get the idea. Sammet really is the physical manifestation of simply not giving a crap about how pungent his music is. And honestly, that's kind of one of the reasons why I've enjoyed his music as much as I have done over the years. There's always this air of, yeah, I'm ridiculous, I'm absurd, but I really don't care because I'm having the time of my life, about everything he puts his hands to. Be it Edguy with songs like Lavatory Love Machine, Trinidad or Superheroes, or the subject of today's review Avantasia with tracks like Devil in the Belfry, State of Matter or Rat Race. Sammet has a wonderful ear for the over-the-top, the bombastic and the grandiose. And his latest release, A Paranormal Evening with the Moonflower Society, continues on this trend, even down to that incredible mouthful of an album name, which I had to reduce the font for on my frickin' thumbnail to make it fit. Thanks, Tobias. For the progheads watching who aren't familiar with Avantasia, imagine, if you can, an even cheesier Arion. And that's fundamentally what we have here. Sammet gets on the phone to his power metal buddies and says, "Hey guys, what's up? I'm making another metal opera album. Want to sing on some songs I've written?" And the answer is generally speaking going to be a yes, because, We've had some absolute titans of the power metal genre, and from metal in general, over the course of the project's existence, including, but not limited of course, to the likes of Roy Khan, Russell Allen, Dee Snider, Hansi Kirsch, Sharon Del Adele, just to name a few. So there's quite a lot of clout going on with the voices that you generally hear on Avantasia records. But we're here now on the project's 9th album. That's a lot. And we are treated to some absolutely stellar vocalists, including some of my favourites, not just from within the subgenre, but within metal in general. With powerhouses like Floor Jansen and John Lander really making their presence felt on this record, with both belting out on more than just one song, and cementing their contributions as amongst the strongest in the entire history of Avantasia. John especially sounds incredible here. Considering that he's now pushing his mid-50s, he still sounds just as good as he did 20 years ago, confirming, as if any confirmation was really needed, that he is indeed truly the spiritual successor to the late, great Ronnie James Dio himself. But, what about Sammet? Generally speaking, in previous Avantasia records, he tended to allow the guest vocalists to shine as the primary contributors, mostly playing backup to them here and there. But on this record he kind of takes mostly the lead, front and centre, with the guest vocalist trading off against him. It's a fresh new angle for the project, and I think it works pretty well. Sammet has a very distinctive wail that people tend to either love or hate, but you can't deny that it works really, really well for the music he's putting out, especially on this record. Now, I've personally always been a fan of his very identifiable pipes, especially his hallmark high-pitched wah. And honestly, they've not sounded this good in years. Like a fine wine, Sammet is owning this with the extremely comfortable swagger of a man completely in charge of his craft, and he's clearly having a great time here. Because honestly, that's what I like so much about this album. It's such unapologetic fun. Tracks like The Moonflower Society, with its piercing keyboard-driven intro, The Wicked Rule the Night, with its frenzied vocal contribution from Ralph Sheepers, or the mountainous, thundering rumble of John Lander on I Tame the Storm. There is not a single track on here that feels lumbering or unengaging. I've got to admit, I didn't particularly enjoy the last couple of Avantasia albums. I don't know, possibly because they were coming off the heels of the frankly fantastic trilogy of The Scarecrow, The Wicked Symphony, and Angel of Babylon. But, I don't know, whatever apathy I have felt for Ghostlights and Moonglow, that has just been absolutely banished by Moonflower Society. Some of the guest vocalists really surprised me this time around as well, as you've got people like Ronnie Atkins of Pretty Maids making a fantastic performance. And when you consider the health problems that he's had recently, it honestly makes this all the more remarkable. Jeff Tate even shows up on penultimate track Scars, and as much as even saying that man's name out loud these days makes me feel a little bit sick in the back of my throat, I can't deny that he belts out Sammet's lyrics with an impressive gusto and remarkably little Tate-esque superiority syndrome. I don't know, maybe he's finally chilled out after the spectacular Queensryche drama from a few years ago. Or possibly not, he's still a bit of a tit. Eric Martin from Mr. Big provides some fantastic pipes on one of my favourite songs on the record, Rhyme and Reason. But honestly, it really is all about Floor Jansen and Jon Lander for me, each of them elevating their respective songs to the upper levels of Mount Everest. They truly are some of the best and most powerful vocalists alive right now. And frankly, any opportunity to hear them having this much fun, you've got to celebrate that. Moonflower Society really does feel like this is Sammet at his absolute best in years. It's incredibly hard not to grin like an idiot through the entire runtime as we segue from Gouda to Stilton, from Rochefort to Camembert, and from paneer to mozzarella. Every flavour and variety of cheese is catered to here. What's honestly missing from the album is some wine to pair it with. And that's really the chief criticism, I'll be honest. It's all very one note. This is a power metal opera in the purest sense, and there's no time for anything genre-bending or particularly original here. It's a full-on, non-stop experience. Sammet has most assuredly subscribed to the ideology of more is more. And by the time the record is over, I do feel like I kind of need to have a nice lie down or listen to something chill like Casualties of Cool or something like that, just to calm me down. It's like, woof. I mean, that's entirely possible. That's down to me. That's a me problem, being as I am now an old fart and prefer a quiet evening in with a low-stakes movie and a nice whiskey, as opposed to my younger days of Bacardi breezes and sweaty nightclubs like this, believe it or not. Ultimately, as much as I do love this record and Avantasia in general, I do find it hard to get to the end of this without wanting to grab my cane and yell at them for being too darn loud. But such is the nature of the beast. Sammet doesn't hide from what he's trying to do with this record, and you have to admire and respect his commitment to crafting what is ultimately one of the best examples of metal opera in the business. So, where does this stand in the pantheon of Avantasia records, given as we now have like 9 to choose from? I mean, it's not challenging the God King of the Scarecrow, which will forever and always be the undefeatable titan of the project, gazing down at all the other would-be challengers from its lofty perch on Mount Olympus of its near perfection. But this is most assuredly better than most of what has come out of the last 10 years. I suppose I would probably put this at a upper mid position in the tier list, as there's a lot going on here that I truly do love. But in the same breath, I would say I do find this record a little exhausting, or perhaps just not quite as creative as previous offerings. It kind of prefers very much to stay within the established boundaries of what Sammet has previously created, instead of, forging out something new and adventurous. I mean, honestly, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that per se. Just don't expect a genre-defining masterpiece here, and you will very likely walk away from this record feeling pretty darn satisfied. So, What else can I say about A Paranormal Evening with the Moonflower Society? Tobias Sammet has forged a very strong reputation as being the modern master of this kind of music, and this record is just another notch on that very impressive belt. The riffs are huge, the melody's infectious, and the vocal performance is almost second to none. This is a massive sounding record that almost overwhelms at times, but if you have even a passing interest in bombastic, slickly produced metal, all hewn from the finest, stinkiest, creamiest brie, then you'll have a fantastic time here, and I heartily recommend you give it a go at the loudest you dare crank it without annoying your neighbours. This, as always, guys, is just my opinion, as you should know by this point, so if you've listened to this record, tell me what you thought of it down there. And if you've got anything else you've listened to this year that you think maybe I've been missing out on, or that you really enjoyed, you want me to maybe check out, tell me all about it. Maybe I'll get around to giving it my own thoughts. If you did like this video, please do consider giving a thumbs up, share it around your spaces with anyone who you think might enjoy it, and as always, please do consider subscribing for more content. Until next time, guys, keep your rhyme signatures extremely odd.